Welcome to the American Hard Enduro Podcast. I'm Drew Kirby. We're back. We did the Grindingstone. I've never seen any place like that in my life. Today I'm joined by Cody Webb and Will Preston. What's going on, guys?
Just taking the time to talk about how I got my butt kicked in Hawaii for a couple days, and I don't know anything else dirt bikes, hard enduro related.
Will, I'm just hanging out. Just got off work. Well, still working technically, but I'm here.
All right. Well, Cody, I was going to ask if you wanted to start with the good or the bad. So it sounds like you just brought the bad up. So honestly, we've kind of got a deal to do some podcast with you after every race. And after the 2 Hawaii races, I'll be honest, I didn't want to reach out and set something up. So now that we've got some good results, let's flash back to your 2 Hawaii races. Tell us how it was.
Kauai was rough. That was the first one over there. The Garden Island motorcycle area. I forget the name of the place, but it was in a place called Omao.
Okay.
And I didn't know until I got there, but I guess there's a spot on Kauai that's like the rainiest place on earth. And it rained there every day we were there, like at least a little bit off and on, and it would be unexpected. So I was expecting it to be slippery, and I know the Hawaiians always do good when they go to TKO, like the Satterfield brothers used to kill it when they'd come and no one knew who these guys were, and they were getting like top 10 essentially at TKO back in the day. So, I expect it to be slippery. I'm pretty good when it's slippery, and I went riding 2 days before the event with Ryder Guest. He took me on a little tour, me and James, and honestly, it was super fun. It was a little bit more dry side of the island, but really enjoyed it. Kind of fun, flowy stuff, extreme stuff. And I was feeling pretty good. And James Flynn was there too. And I feel like James was Arizona boy. He was struggling, trying to figure out, like it wasn't decomposed granite. They're actually, he's used to all the traction in the world, and you get there and everything's obviously completely different. But yeah, I was looking forward to the race. I went out, walked the Enduro cross track they built, which was ridiculous, by the way. I feel like AMA Enduro Cross needs to take note, because these dudes on Hawaii they just built this crazy, ridiculous, gnarly track. And then we go to America and they just kind of are lame. No offense.
A little more jumpy here.
Yeah. Like, come on, guys.
What kind of features do they have on this Enduro cross track?
They had, the worst part of it was a water hole right off the start. I was pretty mad when I saw that. They made a mud hole. But yeah, they had like gnarly rock section, a cool little pyramid triangle thing we had to ride over, and then they literally had like a big log spoke turn, which isn't too big of a deal, but we're in like that red clay trying to turn on that, and then it went into a rock garden with like a big concrete pipe on top of the rocks in the rock garden, and you get over that and had to keep going through rocks, and then a set of flat tires and a couple other things, some concrete things that were way harder than they needed to be because of how slippery it was. But yeah, so I was pretty excited about it. And then it rained quite a bit the day before the race. And I was texting Ryder Guest, and he's like, dude, those guys, they were just praying that it was going to rain. They knew. They were like, oh, yeah, it's sick. It's going to be awesome now that it rains. And I know why, because if it was dry, which I think it rarely is at that place, it probably would have been just like a tougher hair scramble, but not like a full extreme race. It would have been tough for sure in like the creek bottoms, super nasty, slippery, probably always water down there. But I did see some videos where it was kind of dusty and just riding right up all this stuff. But man, like it rained a bunch and I led off the start. I'm like, oh yeah, like no big rush. And they were all just like pinning it, like battling each other. I'm like, this is going to be like a 4-hour race, isn't it? Like, I don't know why we're trying so hard right now, but okay. Like, I'm just like all relaxed, like made a wrong turn. Like it wasn't a big deal, but like they were getting after it. I felt like they had a point to prove, and there was a bounty on my head. Someone posted that they'd give $500 to the first Hawaiian that beat me. So I think there was some big money on the line,
Did they give away $1,500?
No, they gave $500 away. Okay. Only one person got $500.
I just got it. Well, I was like 1,500. Yeah. Oh,
I think maybe they all got 500. I don't know. So there was like one loop on the lower section that they never ride because they say it's lame there, which it kind of was lame compared to the foresty stuff. But there was still really slick creeks and some fun trail down there. Like it was enjoyable. Man, it was so sloppy because it's flatter down on that part of the property, so the water didn't really anywhere to drain. So I came out of that maybe with like a minute lead. And I'm like, okay, we're doing pretty good. And I got through the Enduro cross and I got through it pretty clean just because I used like my grit force and trial skills. And it was so nasty muddy after all the B's and A's went through it. So like I extended my lead and I got gas and I'm like, all right, like this will be good. Like I just need to finish this race out. And I had maybe a little under a 5-minute lead or so on them when by the time they got out of the Enduro cross track and fueled up as well. So I go out into the jungle, you know, the mountain part of the race. And the very first uphill I got to, it was like a massive slap in the face. And I'm like, oh boy, we are in serious trouble. Like I knew things were bad where I come out of a corner in like third gear and I'm not going anywhere. And I'm like clicking up to fourth and I'm just like spinning and floundering. And I was like, wow, this is treacherous. Like it was like the tile linoleum floor at a grocery store and you put grease on it and try and walk around, like run around the grocery store.
Well, so I talked to someone who talked to you yesterday and they gave me a little insight about your tire setup and what you might have tried. You want to elaborate on that any, or is that top secret?
No, I mean, it's not top secret. Everyone there runs, they run tubeless with a Kenda gnarly, and we ran Kendas before and I got off Kenda and I felt like I started riding a lot better. So I'll say that part of it, but that's the tire that's they all use there and they all swear it works. And they do tubeless with probably like 2 PSI. I feel like they start with like 2 PSI and then they'll like stop and they'll like readjust and let some air out when it starts heating up or something. But yeah, they weren't giving me shit, but they were kind of like telling me what to do, but not telling me what to do. And they thought my moose was too stiff. So, or I had the moose balls. So like you said,
this is pre-race that
this
they're
is
talking
pre-race.
to you about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're like, hey brah, your tire is too hard.
It's too stiff.
So that night, I think it was Friday maybe, I took the tire off, which I then found that the bead was broken on whoever put my tire on. So then I took a drill and I just drilled another hole and put a third rim lock in to fix the broken bead issue so I wouldn't lose the tire.
Oh, wow. That was brave. I didn't hear that. I heard a cracked rim is what it was.
Oh, that was the following weekend. I did have a cracked rim.
Okay.
I was going to try out the Hawaiian trick, and then I was like, well, that's not going to hold air. Not doing that.
So were you on like a factory bike down there, or?
I was on like my old practice bike that kind of just was left in the corner of my garage. Yeah.
Okay.
It kind of shipped over there, didn't it?
Yeah, I shipped it over. So I brought it I brought it down there for King of Motos, and then someone took it to the container for me. Okay. So yeah, I took actually Max had moose balls and his were like way more clapped than mine. So every second ball or every third ball I had in mine, I'd take out and I'd take Max's like destroyed moose ball and put it in my tire.
Yeah.
So I did get it softer, but apparently it was still too stiff. But
okay.
Yeah,
I heard the tubeless thing.
What's that?
I said I heard the tubeless.
Oh yeah, that was the following.
That you went for tubeless, but
I went to try it out, and I'm cleaning the rim, and then my rim was cracked. So who knows how many hours?
Do they run tubeless with the Kenda gnarly and no bib at all?
No bib, yeah.
I don't know how they do that because every time we tried a Kenda gnarly with tubeless,
but you got like that weird like sharper edge stuff there. And
that's a good point.
All their stuff is like either red clay that has nothing to it, and or like round slippery rocks that have been like polished in the creeks, you know.
Okay, yeah, we have sharp stuff, so that makes sense.
All right, and before we get off the moose balls, do you have them drilled at all, or are they
no? Everyone asks me that, and I'm like, that's too much work. Just take one out. It's easier that way.
Because I've drilled them like through the center, and it helped a lot.
I guess
but they're still a little too stiff.
I need to build like a jig to hold them, and then just do a bunch at one time, you know.
There we go. On to something. All right. So
but I knew the jungle. Yeah, and then I was kind of in my head before they even happened because Max Gersten was trying to pre-run, and Evan Ask was like passing Max when they were doing the pre-race thing and like waiting for him. So Max literally just did the first lap, which was like the flatter section I talked about, and he called the local shop, got a tubeless, put that in, and then went out because Evan was literally waiting for Max at the end of sections. And then they also, I don't know if you heard, but they got lost. It was like dark, starting to get dark out. Couldn't find their way back. And then I think they got back at like 8:30 at night out of the jungle. Because there's no access roads. This place is gnarly. There's no access roads. Like the media, if you watch the recap video of that race, like it's so limited because they couldn't get anywhere because it's too gnarly to ride. But anyways.
Okay. All right. So you got to the bad hill and started clicking gears.
So yeah, I'm like, okay, I knew right off the bat, I'm like, I'm in big trouble. And probably 10 minutes into that lap, when I had a 5-minute lead, Cavello caught me and passed me. And I was like, oh boy, all right, I'm going to follow this guy. He obviously knows what he's doing. And I remember I just barely made a wrong turn. So I was right behind him and I'm following him. We're going down this draw and we're in a mini valley essentially. And the arrows point right to go up this hill. And he just doesn't even turn. He goes past the turn, past where I was supposed to turn right, and had this whole line to loop around left and get a run at this hill. And I'm like, you dirty dog, you know exactly where you're going right now, don't you? So of course he goes up that hill. I barely even made the turnaround run. It was so slippery, and I didn't make the hill. And I'm like, ah, crap. Well, there goes my plan of following this guy because he's gone. So I'm in a rush. I'm trying to catch back up, and they had A, B, and pro splits, I guess. And I clearly wasn't paying attention, and I just went left thinking I followed the ribbons I saw, but I didn't realize that I was following the A ribbon. I made a bad assumption, obviously. And I was too panicked trying to catch back up after I lost ground to him, so err on my part, because then I went down a terrible downhill rut, and then I rode for a bit and I crossed the creek and kind of got to the other side, and then I realized I'm not seeing any of my ribbons. And I kept going further, hoping I'd see one for some reason, but I'd already gone down that downhill and I knew I wasn't going to get back up it. And so I had to take a moment where I stopped and I turned off my GoPro and sat there angry, and I went pee, and then I turned my GoPro back on, and I was like, all right, here we go. And I'm trying to get someone, they realized I went the wrong way because I wasn't at this next extreme spot, that was the spot where I crashed and tumbled down the hill. So I'm trying to get up this downhill that's an A hill. None of the A's have gotten there yet. And I swear, it felt like 10 minutes to get up one hill. And I'm clicking fourth gear. I'm trying everything. I'm getting out of the rut. I'm getting back in the rut. And then the guy he comes up, he sees me and he's like, hey, how's that tire working out for you? I'm just that's not what I wanted to hear right now. But finally I got up this rut. That's where I kind of learned that fourth gear, you're somehow supposed to use fourth gear to stand still to get going there, So I get up, they get me back on track, which I'm glad the way they pointed me back on track skipped this super sketchy, dangerous looking waterfall. So I didn't even realize I missed this, but they got me back on course and I missed some waterfall thing that one of the Satterfields, I guess, broke his thumb on or dislocated his thumb, I guess. So yeah, then I got to that thing that I crashed on where I crushed my calf into the tree and tumbled down. But I actually watched the GoPro from that today because I finally got the footage from them. And I think I failed that 3 or 4 times before that crash even happened. So I was pretty defeated at that point. And then I think I greased it no problem the time after that. But I get down, I'm watching my GoPro, I'm taking my gloves off, talking to Evan. I'm don't worry, I got extra gloves, putting fresh gloves on. There's multiple times in that race after that where my seat was so slippery I couldn't hold myself up. I would just slide around. That's happened to me in Ohio before too. But never have I stopped mid race and sat in a creek and wiggled my butt and scrubbed the mud off my butt cheeks on my pants. And then on the Sherco we have the quick release seat, So I was taking my seat off and putting my seat in the creek and washing the seat off. So I did that 2 or 3 times.
Well, this year in Ohio, it was the muddiest. It was just like you said. I literally stopped and washed my seat off numerous times because
I've never done that.
It was wearing me out.
You can't hold yourself up on the bike. So yeah, I finally got up that hill where Evan was and filmed me eat it. And then nasty creeks, more crashes on this uphill trying to get out of a creek, cursing, bike upside down, bike barely running because the water's so deep, like sucking water for sure into my carb. And then there was some new hill called 20-Minute Hill. And I think it was like one of the few things that they haven't ridden there a million times because it actually had traction. And I caught back up to Ryder Guest and Conaboy there. They were like helping each other at the top and pulling each other up. And even Ryder Guest had the race. He's like, "You were killing it on that hill." Like I was like, "Yeah, it was the one hill that had traction the whole race." Like the things I know how to ride, it actually applied and made sense. And it wasn't like it was burnt in, but not like red clay at the bottom. So it was slippery and rooty, but not like miserable. So I caught them at the top of that.
So you caught second and third there?
Yeah, I caught second and third. I was like probably 10 or 15 minutes down, and I somehow caught back up to him after going the wrong way too. And Cavello was just gone. That dude was just slaying every hill. Like I could see his tracks when I got back into second for a bit. He was MIA. Okay. Every hill, first go. I'm like, what a freak. This guy's a freak. But then I battled with Kana and Ryder for a bit. There's like some big waterfall they've ridden. I've seen videos from it quite a bit in the past. I'm sure you guys have seen it on some of their posts, but I gooned it up that because I didn't know if there's like a hole on the backside or anything. And then I passed Ryder right before that waterfall, and then Kana didn't make it up a hill, and I made it first try. It was just a big, long, huge run, like fourth gear wide open through like this chute kind of. And they had to turn around. So I feel like I honestly probably had like almost a 5-minute lead on those guys. So I was like, all right, I've regrouped. We're going to get second. And then it all went downhill again because there's like 3 hills almost in a row before the finish. And the race just kept going. I was like, is this thing ever like, where's the finish in this place? I have no idea where I am. I'm cramping now. I'm getting scared, am I ever going to get out of here? And I could not make it. Finally got up to this hill. I could not get up to the finish, and I see the checkpoint guy up there. And like I said, I can see where Velo made it like first try. Like there was no extra tracks of him. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I'm like asking the dude working. I'm like, how do I get up this? I was like completely baffled. But so then they caught me there. I barely got up that hill right before them, and of course they make it right after me. We drop into this next valley, and it's like a wall ride up this valley, uphill, roots everywhere, red clay. I don't know how long that's where I smoked my clutch. It probably was coming for a while, but I barely got out of there finally after like 6 or 8 tries. And I'm in there, and like I think it took Kana maybe 3 tries and Ryder Guest maybe 2 tries or something, but I'm off to the side. Kana Boy got higher than me, and he's like, I never talked to the kid once in my life. Like I didn't know if he did talk, but now we're cool. But he like looked at me and he's like, I'm surprised you've got this far with. He's like, I'm honestly impressed you've got that far with this tire setup, or something like that. And I was like, thanks, I guess.
Yeah,
you're
backhanded
like
compliment.
You're like just raced A last year, and you're smoking me right now. That's not what I needed to hear, but okay, thanks. This is humbling. But yeah, it was a backhand. It was a good compliment. I'll take it. So I got out of there. My clutch is not doing good. Bike is not happy. And then there was one more. It was like they call it paper bark, and like the bark of the tree kind of like peels off. So at the top of that, like there's just these stupid roots that stuck from those trees. But I finally got up that climb too. I basically just pushed up most of it because it wasn't as steep and it was a little bit more virgin, so I can like cross camber it. And yeah, I was pretty much done at that point. But I think the guy was like, "You're almost there," but I feel like I had heard that like the last 2 hours, so I didn't believe anyone at that point. But there was like one hill where you came down this steep valley, and it was like you just had to go up this embankment on the other side, and there was like 2 routes you had to ride over, an off camber route, and just kind of like cross camber out, and it looked like nothing. And my first attempt, I rev it, and I just feel like I'm spinning uncontrollably, and I didn't get anywhere. Of course, I get stuck in the worst spot, foot peg on the root, can't get the bike back down. So I get going, and I realized there after on my second attempt that my clutch was fried. And when I was basically just slipping the clutch, going nowhere in third gear. So then I tried again third try, didn't make it. So then I sat there for a bit at the bottom, contemplating every decision I had made. And I got a bigger run like up the previous hill, like when I came down. And I basically just hit it in third without touching the clutch at all. I'm like, like lugging it up out of control, and got up high enough to where I can like cross camber out of there. And that's when I saw Jim Flynn. He was hiking in because he's like, no one's gonna make it. Like they're gonna run out of gas. So he was hiking in to like find James. And he's like, when have you seen James? I was like, bro, I have not seen James since the start of the race. Like, I have no idea where that he
Forgot
is.
he was here.
Yeah. So yeah, it was incredibly gnarly. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get to the finish. Like my clutch is smoked. I'm cramping. He gave me like 2 salt pills, and I finished the water I had right there. So I was like, hey, like drink some of his water. And I was like, all right, well, let's see where we get. And literally that was the last part of the whole race. And it was just downhill grass track. And I rode to the finish, and I was like, thank the Lord. One more uphill and I would not have made it out of there. So
how did James Flynn end up finishing?
I think Grayson beat him. Grayson Gonzalez, who used to race some of them, you know?
Yeah.
So James was 6th, I believe.
Okay.
But only 4 of us finished the race in pro.
So Cavello, is that how you say his name?
Yeah, Cavello.
He has he ever raced in the US?
I think he did. Yeah, he raced
the
Kingamotos. He
Okay.
raced Kingamotos. He might have done some last year, but I don't remember.
Yeah, that guy needs to get over to TKO. He'd probably do pretty well.
Probably, yeah.
Well, he was running way up in the Kingamotos, and I was like, who is this Huddy guy? Never heard of him.
Yeah,
he comes over,
I
and
think
then
he got
after
stuck
that,
in like first gear or second gear. Something broke on his bike at Kingamotos on the last lap, so he lost a bunch of time too.
well, shout out to the 3 Hawaiians. I think Cavello Huddy had a 49-minute lead, then Ryder Guest, then Conaboy. And so it was crazy, to be honest. And then you talking about how you felt like, you know, they ride up stuff, take you 10 times. And I was like, man, we can relate. Some of us normal people.
Yeah, I was baffled. It hurt me.
Well, when you went flailing down the hill and your bike went, and you just picked your bike up and threw it on down the hill.
Oh, yeah, like, that's so good.
Been there.
Yeah, I need to I won't be able to monetize that video, my GoPro, on YouTube, because there's a lot of profanity. And I haven't got to it yet, but I just was looking at it today. So I'll probably get to that soon, but I think I'm going to leave an unedited version for like, maybe I'll put it on my training platform, like an unlisted video.
Nice.
For people to watch, or maybe I'll do a OnlyFans. I'll start an OnlyFans just for that video. Because it's pretty good content. It was like, I've done stuff that I've never thought of doing before, or words came together that don't make sense. It was pretty impressive.
Well, so speaking of your training platform, let's take a break, talk about cw2training.com.
Well, one more question.
Sorry,
about Hawaii. Tell me this 4th gear hill climbing strategy. What do you do? Do you click it into 4th and take off? You drop the clutch?
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
How do you do this?
You could start in 4th, but I recommend 3rd just so it's not as bad on the clutch. But I thought about it more, and I think their thought process is like wide open in 3rd, sitting there. You're not going to go anywhere because it's not doing anything yet. And when you click to 4th, the tire really starts heating up. And I think you like evaporate the water moisture content in the clay. And you like, that's when things start moving. And then like you build that speed. But yeah, I've never like done anything, had to do that before.
And then it
like 3rd gear makes sense, you know, like lugging it in 3rd, but like lugging doesn't work there. You can't lug.
The tire just turns over.
Yeah, or it just slides out. So you just need to be wide open so like it holds itself up, and you need to like counterbalance, steer, and point where you want to go. There's no like being precise. You just point and aim for where you want to end up, essentially.
Okay. Sorry, I had to ask that question.
But there was another, like in that one valley that I was trying to do, I'm like 3rd gear wide open, and I'm like, you come over a little riser, and I'm like, you know, a normal person like myself, I'm like trying to like unweight and then squat back into the bike. No, that didn't work. I just had to leave it wide open and stay in it, and that's how I got up it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, so back to the training platform. Will and I are both on it. I've been just checking it out since I've been back from Grindingstone, and you're surprisingly active on there. People asking questions, you're responding. So Will had the idea for me to put a question out there, asking for questions for you for this podcast. So my favorite question is the first one we got from. It says, "Question for
myself."
Cody. Yeah, why did you let the Hawaiians kick your ass in Kauai? And then I think we've covered that part.
Yeah, that part's been covered.
Yeah. Part 2, how do you bounce back from a beatdown like that?
Yeah, obviously it hurt, but I wanted to pay my respect to the Hawaiians. I got beat on their own territory, and it is what it is. So, I stayed for the podium, even though I was a little sad. But they rode really good. Like, I can't take that away from them. So, but I knew that I was better than that, and I can't let that.
Did they let you stand next to the podium for 4th?
I didn't stand next to the podium. No.
Okay.
No.
Just checking.
Yeah.
All right. So you obviously.
But I did do a mini speech. I did go up and do a mini speech.
Okay.
Oh, well, and that was
great. You got the whole shot award.
Yeah. No, I don't think no, I did not. I crashed in the first turn, and then I was in first by the end of the Enduro cross section.
Okay.
All right. So then quickly, we'll talk about Oahu so we get to Grindingstone. So then the next weekend, they raced on another island of Oahu. Am I saying that right?
Oahu at, I never named this place. But
it's
a motocross track there on the North Shore. So they have really big, I think it was a military thing that wasn't being used anymore, and they were able to convert it to dirt bike use.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Best
but yeah, I knew that it would definitely level the playing field there, and that spot doesn't get as much rain and stuff. So obviously it's still really slick down in the valleys, nasty creeks down there and some slippery hillsides. But if it had rained there, I don't know if that race actually would have been possible to finish a lap. Like, I would have been out there for 8 hours, not 4 hours, 20 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was really good. It was more technical. There's a lot of really crappy hobbit trails, I would call them, because there's so much growth. You're just like sitting on the back of your seat, like on the back of the bike, weaving through these hobbit trails. So those kind of get old. And then they leave some trees in like the worst position possible to, like, they know it's going to make the turn terrible. So hats off to them. But no, they did a lot of work for that race to put in new stuff. And I hadn't been there in 2 years. I did the first one, and that was the first time he put on a hard enduro race, and he learned a lot. And then last year, Tristan and those guys were there. Sounds like he almost killed him with like no water, and I think it was a different format. So this year was like a hare and hound. So there was 3 different loops. First loop was easy. Second loop, honestly, I think was easier, but there was one spot that was quite a bit harder. But yeah, there I just was able to kind of get a gap on those guys and maintain it. And then the third lap, when it got really hard, that's when I was able to extend my lead. And I lost a lot of time in one part. I was like upside down. And Josh Shaker, the track coordinator, I forget his official term, he'll probably get mad at me, but he's the track crew guy.
He's going to be pissed.
Yeah.
Still pissed.
Track coordinator.
Sure, that'll work.
He's the man. Anyways.
Trail boss. We'll go trail boss.
Trail boss. He was like, oh, you need to use a saw here. You can get stuck and you won't be able to get your bike out. So I borderline almost pulled the saw out of my U-Sweep pack because my bike was so wedged upside down. It was like my foot peg was hooked, and then my tire was hooked underneath another down log. So like I would try and wedge it, and it would just hit the other log. So I had to climb up and like stomp on that log, break the one log my rear wheel was wedged under, pull it out of the way like the Hulk, and then I just wasted so much time getting my bike out of this one spot. But the rest of the race, I did really good, and I was able to redeem myself. And, Cavello said he had never cramped before, and he was cramping at that race.
What was the temperature like?
It wasn't too hot. I think it had been worse when I was there.
But it's humid in Hawaii.
Yeah, it's pretty humid. It's still not like TKO though.
Okay.
Not like TKO. Nothing is.
Well, how was your body after the beat down on Kauai? I mean, were you feeling it leading up to it, or were you pretty good by the weekend?
I was feeling pretty good by the weekend, honestly. My calf was really sore. That was the worst part of it. But
From
honestly,
cramping or from
yeah,
an injury?
no, from when I slammed my foot peg into the back of my calf when
Oh,
I hit the
yeah.
tree.
Okay.
But I was okay. I wasn't completely miserable.
Well, so that leads to another question we got on the question I asked on cw2training.com. What's your go-to post-race beer? I don't think I've ever seen you have one, but if you were going to.
So after King of Motos, I think there was a Coors Light in my hand when I finished, when I did my interview with Max. And then after Grindingstone, when I won this weekend, I had a High Noon, one of those seltzers. Those are top-notch seltzer. Those are pretty good, but that's not a beer. It's kind of a sissy beer, but it's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
It's a girl beer.
Girl beer.
Girl beer. Whatever you want to do.
2024, all right? Get off my back. And
Whoa.
then, I don't remember what I had in Hawaii. I think I didn't have anything after Kauai because I was so depleted. I probably would have had to go to the hospital from dehydration.
Oh,
but yeah, I guess a Coors Light. It's easy. It's simple. I'll go Coors Light.
All right, perfect. So then what was the finishing order in Oahu? You won, and then Cavello, he gets second?
Cavello got third.
Okay.
I'm looking at it right now if you want to.
Oh, yeah. Well, here you go. Will.
Ryder Guest was second.
Yeah. Conaboy fourth. Cooper Abbott fifth. Jarrett Lamb. Eric
sixth.
I don't know.
James. I think James
is right
had
there.
an issue with his TSP sensor or something like that.
Yeah, James got eighth.
Yeah, his bike.
Blair Nahill, John Sagario, and a bunch more.
Hey, what did Cooper come over for just the second race for? I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to go and do it. He never been to Hawaii, and he couldn't get a bike to the first race. So the dealer on Oahu hooked him up with a bike. So that's why he went to the second one only.
Is there a Sherco dealer down there?
Yeah, on Oahu.
Okay, that's cool.
So we stationed out of his shop for Oahu.
Nice.
Well, how long did you stay over there? You were over there a couple of weeks. You took Morgan and the kids. How was it for being over there for a couple of weeks or a week and a half?
We were there for 12 days, and I was ready to go home. But it was awesome. Place. It was like we were on Kauai, and I was like, we had a good time there, but like our daughter got an ear infection, which is not fun for a baby in both ears.
No.
So we dealt with that for like 2.5 days. And then Teddy had a mysterious bug bite and he could barely walk for like 2 days. So I had to carry him everywhere on my shoulders. So that wasn't very fun. And then we had 2 urgent care visits in 3 days, I think, for the kids. And then
nothing like being in a foreign place with 2 small children.
Yeah. But then on Kauai, I was like, I'm ready to go to Oahu. But we stayed in Waikiki, which is basically like the Bay Area where I grew up, a pretty big city. And after being there for 1 hour or 2 hours, I was ready to go back to Kauai because I like the simple, like villagey feel of Kauai and less commercialized. Because right where we're staying is like Louis Vuitton stores and Dolce and Cabana. I don't know all these brands, but that type of stuff, you know, it was too bougie for me. It was like Vegas.
People don't realize what a big city Oahu is.
It's not
skyscrapers
Hawaii.
Everywhere. It's huge. Yeah.
So I was ready to go back to Kauai after being in Waikiki. But on the North Shore, it's really cool for where the race is. It's a lot more kind of like traditional Hawaii you would envision.
All right. Well, I had no idea it was that big either. So let's move on to Grindingstone. My first time out there, Saturday was a qualifying race, nothing real big. But then one of the highlights for me was the street shootout they had. And at first I looked at it and thought, I don't know about this. But the unique thing was there's no lanes. And so I think Cooper Abbott and Colton Haker were real excited, being that they love Enduro cross. Thought they were going to Cooper Webb I called him Cooper Webb there, and I just did it again. Cooper Abbott, he went out. He was the first one to hit this like gnarly. It ended up being not that bad, but a double and then another splatter up onto this feature. And look, speaking of Josh Stecker, he's calling me right now.
Oh, we're busy.
I'm going to tell him what you did. But anyway, so they went out
Josh
and if I can figure out how. So they took the top 32 from the Saturday morning race to the street shootout. You got started on a trailer with like a traditional motocross starting gate. And I couldn't believe how many people from the city of Page came. They blocked off a street right downtown.
We had a band. They had a band playing.
Yeah,
fire truck was there. Police department was there.
Yeah, it was awesome. And luckily the weather held out because it was supposed to be rainy, cold, and windy, and the sun stayed out. It was a little windy. But once the racing started, like I said, they did bracket racing to get down. And about the time we got to the round of, four brackets, 8 riders, it started heating up. And I guess to spoil it, you won it. But things started getting pretty wild out there.
I was boxing out Tristan like I was going for a rebound.
Well, so before we get to you, it was Colton and Cooper Abbott.
That was the best one.
By far. I mean, I looked over, the whole entire bleachers are standing up. And I don't think neither one of them was having fun. You and Tristan started playing around. But, dude, I thought they were going to fight.
Did they do best 2 out of 3?
Yeah, 2 out of 3.
So you get inside, then outside, and whatever?
Whatever for the last one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But and then it was basically down around a wagon wheel corner. They called it the spoke corner. And that was where really it was won or lost pretty much. There wasn't much that changed after that. But I can't remember if it was Cooper or Colton who stopped, played a good game, and then one of them hit the other one, took them out. Then the next run, so that was the first one. The second one, vice versa. They just wiped each other out. And then the third one, I think Cooper ended up taking out Colton, and they weren't too happy about it.
Wiped each other out again, yeah. I think all 3 times in a row they were getting really.
There was, I think at one point Colton pushed Cooper's bike
3
out
times.
of the way.
3
Okay.
Yeah, I think Cooper took him out because he was inside, and Colton went down. He's trying to get to his bike, and Colton's literally just slamming into him, and Cooper's still trying to turn, and he's trying to push Cooper over 3 times in the same corner.
Yeah. And so then obviously Colton was eliminated, and then you went up against Tristan, I guess, to get into the final.
And I was next, and I had just watched. I had just watched how Colton went wide and Cooper just obliterated him, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop in this corner. I'm going to control the corner, basically brake check him so he can't do that to me. And it was a good idea till it didn't work because he basically just came in and knew he had to go that way. So he just went full commit, and he realized I didn't move and just slammed into my bike and took me down.
He basically did a wheelie pivot turn and just wiped Cody out. Cody wasn't even there and just knocked him out of the way. And then Cody tried to get on his bike with him.
Yeah, I was trying to hop on his bike. I was boxing him out for a rebound. Yeah, that was just for fun at that point because I knew I obviously lost that one. But then I think I was inside for the next one. I don't know. I basically Billy bolted the spoke turn and won because those guys, I don't know, they were too slow through it. I don't know what they were doing. They weren't weak. I was just I would just commit and I would just lean back and say F it and be like, rrr, 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 and that's where I basically won my motos or races against them because I just committed and they were picking it apart,
Yeah, it was impressive. So, like I said, you ended up. So you and Cooper were in the final, and he technically, he had you beat.
We both won one, and then he came in, and he just barreled me off the start, and I couldn't double the double, and I was like, damn it! And then he basically stole my line for the next one, so I had to check up on the next obstacle, and yeah, he had me beat, but the pressure, he cracked under pressure.
Yeah, he just basically lost the front end in this wagon wheel, and Cody just hooked it inside, did that little wheelie.
I think he just rushed it a hair too much, maybe, but he had me. I'll give it to him. He had me.
But honestly, you didn't have to stay in your lane, and so off the trailer, it was a 1.5 drop, and some guys would just cut right over on the guy on the inside.
Oh my god, yeah, especially the trials guys like Daniel Blanc-Gagnier. He works for Gas, and he was not about to jump that double because he's probably never jumped a double in his life, but I think he was racing Petrie, and he literally lined up on the start. We're both going straight. He was pointed like this, and went literally almost took him out off the start. So it was good fun.
Yeah, and then some of it was. They're starting on a wooden flatbed trailer. So some guys would spin, get a little sideways, and shoot over there unintentionally, but there was a lot of intentional coming over for sure.
Yes. Yeah, Cooper got me.
Yeah. So go ahead, Will.
Would you say that you prefer that over the straight rhythm where you can use the whole track? Or
it made the racing a lot better. It made it more fun. It made it more aggressive for some people, though, unfortunately.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine if they did that at TKO, if they built a wagon wheel down there instead of the pivot turn.
But then if Billy comes, he's just going to rear tire hop the whole thing. So we'll battle for second.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know, it's not public knowledge, but we'll tell people they're talking about bringing back the Nashville straight rhythm again. It's just, I think they're waiting to get approval from someone to announce it. That's what I heard this weekend.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some more spicy versions to it as well.
Oh, okay. I hadn't heard that.
What does spice involve?
Yeah. I can't share that, but I did a site walk with Red Bull and it looks cool.
Oh, okay.
Would it be in the same location or somewhere else?
Same spot, but different ideas to take it to a more spectacular level, I guess.
Okay. I like it.
We'll see.
All right. All right. Well, hey, more to come. Like I said, they haven't announced it.
We can talk about it after. If it doesn't happen, I don't want to disappoint people,
Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right. So moving on to Sunday at Grindingstone, the top 10, all the guys you'd suspect on the front line. How'd the Sunday race one go before the main event? It was what, one lap?
One lap. Yeah, it was good. It was pretty high pace. I think 6 of us broke away from everyone else like right away. And Tristan went really hard right off the bat, gapped us. And then Cooper got hung up on this like sketchy downhill and like didn't turn right. So then Will Reardon got ahead of us. So Will was kind of just out of our sight. Didn't really see where Tristan was. I was running 5th, which is pretty much all I really wanted to do because I just wanted to be front row. And then at some point I passed Colton and Cooper. I don't know when. And then I caught up to Will when he made a mistake on this downhill. So I passed Will somewhere. And then at the end of it, there's a really big, gnarly slab. I think a lot of the guys in the back of the pack tumbled their bikes off of it. I don't remember the name of it, but it was pretty big slab. But I got up that, and Tristan was at the top of it. And the weather was so, how bad the weather was there. It was so windy. The ribbons got messed up. So I caught Tristan because he kind of got like locked in. It was like the track just ended because the ribbon was like a cul-de-sac. He had nowhere to go, essentially.
Yeah.
On top of this weird ledge. So they were like yelling at us where to go. So I was like, well, Tristan, you beat me here, so you can go first. I will allow you to continue to lead. And plus I don't know, the qualifier, it's no one really cares that much about that, I guess for bragging rights, but I just want to be front row. So I basically we all followed each other into the finish from that point.
Okay. All right. So the starts of
the top 3 were within 5 seconds. Basically.
Yeah, it was close. Yeah, we just followed each other essentially at that point.
And you, I guess you were 4th, so you were another 10 seconds back. So yeah.
Oh, that was race 1, and then the second race I was 2nd.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at that now.
But it was the same thing. We were all within 20 seconds, like top 6 or something like that.
Gotcha.
Well, and just to back up, we had, like Cody said, a ton of wind on. We ended up getting rain Saturday night, ton of wind. So woke up Sunday to pretty much everything being wet, and it blew away like half the markings. And so they pushed the first. They pushed the first race back a little bit, and basically both races back an hour to help them get finished. And we were running around before the main event. My son and I just finding stuff that was, we were retying stuff. So ended up starting an hour late. What'd you think about the start? They started them on this, it looked like a big turtle shell, and they rode across a little like saddle and then up over another big mesa. And it was barely 5 bikes wide once you guys crossed off the start. And they did a mass start, rows of 5. So 5 rows of 5, which I thought they were going to give y'all breaks in between, but they just sent it.
Yeah, I thought it was all right. It wasn't like, I don't know how spectacular it looked for everybody, but it was kind of narrow at the top of that first mesa we had to shoot at. But I thought it would have been cooler if we had like, maybe like a Le Mans start or something, and like start at the base of a mesa. So like people would rush and not make it. That'd be cooler. I don't know. But it was cool. Like it was fine. But yeah, I didn't get the best start, but I really wasn't trying to like whole shot and run away because I knew people were probably going to make mistakes on that track. So obviously I should tell people I tried to whole shot, but I just obviously wanted to be front row. That's really all I cared about.
Well, and then I've watched some of the GoPro of your first lap, and you kind of traded back and forth with Tristan and Ryder. And then at one point, Tristan comes around you, and I don't know what he said. And you said, "Hey, man, I don't know where I'm going," or something. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, like, I only rode like a half day out there. And then I I know exactly where he passed me back. I walked the course, but I really didn't care about like walking up every single time. I would just look at it from the bottom and be like, "Yeah, that looks pretty gnarly." All right. And then I'd walk along the mesa and I would see where it dropped down. So it was one of the ones where it went up and there were kind of like a weird funnel thing to drop back down, and I didn't walk it. So I was like, "You can lead. That's fine."
All right. So I was at Stairway to Heaven, which was at the end of a lap. First lap, and I may get the laps messed up. First lap, Tristan had a little lead. Second lap, you closed it up, and you guys were like tip to tail. And then I think it was then that it started raining, snowing, sleeting sideways, and everything got wet. And you guys, Tristan was clean at Stairway to Heaven. I think he only bobbled once. And like, so third or fourth lap, y'all were right together, and you'd closed it up, and you were right on him. And then the lap after that, I was timing it. He was doing like a 19-minute lap. And then all of a sudden, like 17 minutes later, you came through and no Tristan.
Yeah.
Kind of take us through what happened there mid-race.
Yeah, it was like a third of the way through the race when you said there was that little gap to the next rider after Tristan. I tumbled down game changer. Not terribly bad, but I didn't make it. And it was when it was snowing and sleeting, and I was like in my head that I'm like, this is impossible. And I rode like a sissy up it, threw my bike, crashed, bent my bars. But Ryder passed me there. So Ryder got past me. I went to try it again. I backed out, didn't try that. So I lost a bunch of time there. And then up stairway, I didn't make it. And I got to the side, and I'm like pushing, and my heart rate's spiking, and I'm like spinning, and nothing's working. And I'm trying to, so I had to be patient there and like kind of regroup and not completely blow my wads. So I feel like that was a key part to the race for me, to not like overly panic, because I still know there's time, you know? So I basically, after that, I somehow regrouped once the weather picked up. And like you said, all of a sudden I caught right back up on a Tristan's rear tire again. And I think he had almost probably like a 2-minute lead on me at one point. And then I think he had his own issues. He tumbled down. I mean, Ryder had his own issues a little bit, but I think Tristan had a bigger one than Ryder issue-wise, crash. And yeah, Tristan pitted. I didn't pit because I saw him there pitting, because I saw I was catching him. So I was like, I'm not going to take this time to pit. I'll pit next lap. My whole goal now is to catch him, pressure him in a mistake, pass him, gap him, and then I'll get gas and he won't catch me. And literally that's exactly what happened. It was like the perfect case scenario, exactly how I envisioned it. So I caught back up to him, put the hammer down. We went up stairway, like literally I had to wait for him before I could go because I didn't want to run into him, you know?
Well, that was the first time he bobbled. So he was taking a line to the left and crossing back right. And you guys, and then you guys were all going right and crossing, and he greased it every time, like and then that time he bobbled, and you almost, like you said, had to check up.
Yeah. So I like kind of had to wait my turn to go. And then right out on the top of that climb, I was just right on his rear tire again, obviously. And he just made like a small turn where he would have cliffed out. So he had to stop. So I passed him. And then I just rode the best I could. And I just rode super clean from that point on. And then Eggs Over Easy was super technical. I feel like that was the other hard part of the track. And I cleaned it, and I looked over and I saw him off the bike kind of pushing. So I was like, okay, time to. So basically from that point on, I just hammered out, and I was able to get a gap there and basically maintain that gap to the finish.
Well, it was wild. And like I said, I was kind of watching my watch to see how long it took you guys. And when you made that pass, I don't know if you just were much cleaner than he had been, and you had both been on that lap, but you came through a couple minutes before I was expecting anybody.
Yeah. I mean, I pretty much nailed everything spot on at that point. I was later into the race, so like I wasn't riding as tight, and I was able to kind of just be looser, and I just wasn't panicking as much. I just was letting the race come to me, and I felt like I was flowing way better through stuff. faster through the fast stuff, and then hitting my marks, not really taking my time on the gnarly things, just turning and going. So I think, over the course of a 20-minute lap, 19-minute lap, or whatever it was, you said, like, you're basically shaving 5 seconds here, 8 seconds there, like everything adds up,
No, it was cool. Well, and then back to your heart rate. One other thing, when I was poking around on the app this afternoon, you shared your heart rate data from there. And I think your max was 177 and your average was like 145, 143. Is that pretty normal for you, or is that a little high?
I haven't done, like, I'm trying to be better about that stuff now. And now that I have like the training thing, I really want to share that information so people can see it. But I haven't worn my heart rate strap in a really long time when racing, mostly because it falls down. So I'm like literally mid-moto, I'm like pulling it up. Like I crashed once in the final race and I'm like pulling my heart rate strap up, like adjusting my bra or something, But yeah, that's pretty much what I would expect. I thought I would have had a little bit higher average, but that also doesn't take into account like when the start of the race, when I'm sitting there, and then the finish when we're chilling, there's a couple of minutes extra, probably being at 90 to 100 recovering and stuff.
Brought it down.
Yeah. And then there was also a big segment of the track that was, we're first gear through the pits. Like I'm going to recover easily during that. The whole way coming into the pits was faster, not whooped out or anything. So I'm recovering that whole time, and then it gets back into it again. So there's a lot of points where I can recover on that track, but 177, I feel like, is a pretty decently high number. But
what do you think your average heart rate is in a TKO final?
Oh man, probably pretty high.
180.
It's not really any rest. I don't think I can't really get my max is really ever, like, the highest I've ever seen my heart rate is like 184. Okay. 186 maybe. So, but for an average at TKO, I'm probably doing like 166 average, I'm guessing.
And that's a 20 minute. Well, they took it up to a 30-minute final versus a 2-hour race. So
yeah,
little higher intensity. Well, all right. So then you rode clean to the end. Tristan never really made a push. Anything else about the race that stuck out? Like visually, it's by far the scariest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I would agree. Asked me.
I would agree.
Several people asked me, "You wish you were riding, or do you want to go race out there?" I said, "I have no desire. Like maybe free ride some of the Sunday morning stuff, but main event, I don't want any part of that."
No, I don't blame you. Yeah, there's some pretty nasty stuff there. There was one news section, I don't remember the name of it, but it was the video I posted on Instagram prior to the race with Riley Bender, where he's like stuck there, and I did Ludacris song, like move, get out of the way, and I like pass him. That section, I saw a massive crash by Psycho Enduro, Dylan Santoro.
Okay.
Huge crash, massive tumble. Like I'm sure you've probably seen the video in that little like crack at the top. But I got kind of mad there a few times because it just bottlenecked up and there was literally nowhere. You literally had to wait your turn. But there was one time, I think I was probably the only person in the race. I got tired of waiting. And there's a way sketchier left line because we would kind of veer left, drop right, and kind of swoop it. And I just rode the high line left and committed and made it. So I was happy I did that because who knows? I could have, that could have been the win for me. Who knows?
Well, the Stairway to Heaven, like I said, the predominant line was right off the bottom. And then Tristan was taking a left line that was like 20 feet vertical, then go right.
Yeah.
Had you looked at that line at all? Got any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I wish I had tried it. I mean, I spent like half a day out there pre-running stuff, and I think I maybe tried that way one time, but yeah, I mean, that's what happens with pre-running. Those guys were there for probably like 4 or 5 days in a row riding it, and I'm sure they hit it way more times than I did. So, and it showed. I mean, Ryder and Tristan did that line really good, and I made it every time but twice. So, but luckily I never crashed when I didn't make it. I just would regroup and get to the side and not waste a bunch of time or jack my bike up,
Well, it was interesting because Colton spent he was struggling trying it over and over, and then Tristan came through and he saw him take that line, and so he was really the only other one to hit it. He hit it, I think, 2 or 3 times in a row. But
so
someone asked me, next year if it's there. Somebody asked me, they were watching a video of Tristan, and at the bottom of that, he has it decked in like 3rd gear way before he's even letting the clutch out. and it almost sounds like a trials move where you guys would rev the bike wide open and then dump the clutch. What's the physics behind that?
I don't know. That one I'm not sure, because I call it like the flywheel effect on like a massive slab where you're at the bottom and you're like, and like you're hammering the throttle, getting out super hard, and then you're kind of letting the flywheel carry you upwards. Okay. With that, though, it wasn't like he kept crazy momentum after. He had to get up on that ledge and regroup and squat into it and get going again. So, but I mean, I rode with Tristan and Ryder and Will a bunch for that like hard enduro bro shoot thing we did in Utah after King of Motos, and like a lot of the stuff we were doing, they were just like revving the piss out of it like that, and I'd be like, "Brap, first gear."
Well, speaking of that photo shoot, that one video of that line that's gotten so big, if you like hop, you do a little jump hop sideways. It was, oh man, that was crazy.
I was pretty proud of that one. Proud moment.
Yeah, it was good.
I knew it was good when Ryder LeBlanc told me afterwards. He said he was really proud of me, and that it reminded me of Cody Webb of old, like back the old school Cody Webb. He saw glimpses of my past, and then he said I'm second now to Colton Haker and who he looks up to, and I was like,
well, hey, this is a perfect segue into question 3 from the website. It might explain that back to your old self. Can you explain giving the dog a bone backstory?
There's really nothing to it. It was just I won King of Motos, and Tristan's interview with like the US Hard Enduro team afterwards, he just said, he's like, oh, sometimes you got to throw the old dog a bone. Like he just kind of handed me that win. So that kind of stuck. I was like, oh, did you help me win that one, or what's going on here? So I don't know what he has to say this time, but I don't know. It's all in good fun, but honestly, like kind of, added some kindling to the fire for me.
Well, very cool. Well, and it's glad to have you back on. I don't want to say you back on top, but someone else winning besides the same person over and over. Just it's good for the sport. It's good to have another brand represented, winning some races. So I think it's awesome. Congratulations, 2 for 2 on the year so far. Well, we won't count the non-premier rounds.
3 for 4.
3 for 4.
3 for 4.
I didn't win the Gypsy Tales race, so 3 for 5. Oh, we did win the industry class, so maybe 4 for yeah.
How was the Gypsy Tales?
It was really fun. I'm over sand whoops. I was avoiding all the sand whoops at Grindingstone because I rode too many at that.
Just riding around them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna close my door right quick.
One thing I want to mention about like so far this year, because everyone keeps asking me like what's different, or everyone keeps saying that I like seem different on the bike or whatnot, and I don't think there's any like one set thing that basically makes it happen where I'm riding better now. But my wrist isn't as trash anymore. Like it still doesn't bend this way at all, obviously, but it goes this way. But
that's weird. So it doesn't go.
Yeah,
mine that's forward. As far back as I got.
Yeah. So
wow.
But like my wrist isn't bothering me as much, so like I'm a little bit better on the injury side of things. And then I've been trying to work on my fitness a lot harder because the robot is obviously a machine, so I got a well-oiled machine, so I got to do my best on the fitness side. So our baby girl is sleeping better now, so I can train harder and sleep more. So that helps. And then honestly, I feel like with the training platform, I had to like write all the content for it, right, and like film it all. And it was like teaching me to be honest with my own riding, like not to be lazy when I'm practicing and training. Like you do something when you're practicing, right? Like you'll just get lazy and sit down through a section or flounder instead of like practice the right technique. So I feel like I've been like practicing what I preach, and like all the time now it's like a little reminder, like a kick in the butt to like be better when I'm racing and practicing. So there's a mixture of things where I feel like I've been able to kind of step it up again and not just, I don't know, flounder around back there behind those guys.
Well, hey, we appreciate it because, I think everyone, again, like I said, it's great to have someone else up there challenging for wins on a regular basis. It's kind of been you, Ryder, and Tristan the last couple of years, with Tristan getting most of the wins. So it's good to have some competition.
All the wins?
Yeah, well, I was trying. Yeah, he hadn't lost in 2 years. So, Man, it is awesome. So what's next? I know we got a little break till I think Battle of the Goats is the next premier round, late April. What do you got coming up?
I'll be at Moab, so I'll do the Moab Hard Enduro, one of the West regional ones. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll be a really cool event, different than Grindingstone, but somewhat similar. And then obviously we'll be moving East Coast from there for Battle of the Goats. So
how many hour drive is Moab from Denver?
6 hours roughly, so not too bad.
It's not bad.
Well, I couldn't believe how close you were to Grindingstone. I mean, it was still 12 hours or something?
10 hours, I think. 10 hours.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I said, I had no idea. So what's the plan for when it heads east? You just gonna fly in, fly out?
Yeah, fly in, fly out. I'm just because it's hard as a family man to just leave. I look at like the kids like Ryder and Gage, and they're just traveling in their vans and living out of Ryder isn't even a suitcase. He uses like a Tupperware for his clothes. But yeah, I did have those days, so I got to just look back and enjoy what I used to be able to do. But now it's a different lifestyle for me, so I'm doing the best we can over here. So yeah, I'll fly back and forth, trying to figure out if maybe I can do Erzberg. Who knows? But let's see what we can do.
Well, that's what I was asking Morgan when the next time she was going to be an event, and she said, depending on Erzberg, she might come to the PA race, or the races in PA. So. Well, man, Cody, congratulations on the win. Will, you got anything else before we wrap it up?
I was just going to say we need to figure out a CW2 event in Tennessee, get you over here. We got the perfect place at Windrock Park.
Yeah, you guys definitely do. Yeah, I've been toying with ideas to try and do some stuff, mostly for like the next generation, like the youth side of things, try and get spark new interest in that. But obviously, you guys want to learn something too, so we can.
Yeah, us old guys
we'll do a joint effort.
Well, and one other thing that's on the training platform is I think you're doing like a track preview walk or pre-walk with some of the
whichever track promoter allows it. So at Moab, we'll do a track walk with the members and basically give insight and share what I think is best. Open for collaboration, essentially. So I think Roar will have that. So we'll do track walk at Roar. Not sure on Battle of the Goats yet. I got to reach out to see.
I'm sure Tyler will be cool with that.
Yeah.
Are you going to make it 3 for 3 at Battle of the Goats?
I mean, I hope so. That's what I want to do.
Well, I remember Tristan beat you at one of the early Battle of the Goats. It was kind of one of his first big wins over you, and he just said that Cody's better in the rocks and trialsy stuff, and I think I'm better at the hill climb. So
I have been doing more hill climbs lately when I've been riding, so I'll be honest. I witnessed it firsthand when we did the Burrow shoot, and I'm like, these freaking kids are nuts, dude. I got to do stupid shit. Okay, I guess I'm doing sketchy hill climbs.
Do it.
Well, and what surprised me so much about Grindingstone is like if you don't make a hill or one of those obstacles, you're coming back down and the bike's going all the way to the bottom, destroying body and bike, like Cooper's bike and the handlebars. Like out in the east here, there's a tree or something that's going to catch you in the bike.
Yeah, no, there it's going all the way down.
The loam holds the bike.
Yeah,
no
loam
helps
there.
there.
Zero
No.
loam.
Oh,
the sand at the bottom catches you.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right, Cody, you got anything else?
No, I think we're good.
All right, guys. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you at the next one.
Yeah, we knocked 3 out today. That's good. 3 and 1.
Nice.
We got them. All right, see you guys.
All right, see you
later.